Good morning, children. How are you today? This is Ajita Teacher, and today I'm going to tell you a story. The name of the story is The Frog Prince. Once upon a time, far, far away, there lived a king who had a beautiful daughter. They lived in a castle surrounded by large forests. For her birthday one year, the king gave her a golden ball as a present. In the middle of the forest, there was a big pond. Whenever the princess was bored, she would sit by the pond and play with her golden ball. It was her favorite toy. One day, when she was playing with her golden ball, she accidentally dropped it into the pond. The pond was so deep that she could not see the bottom of the pond. The poor princess was so upset that she began to cry. As she cried, a voice called out, "Why are you crying, princess?" When she looked around, she saw a frog sitting on a leaf. She said, "I have lost my golden ball," and she continued to cry. "Don't cry," said the frog. "If you promise to be my friend, I will fetch you your ball." The princess was very happy and she said, "Yes, yes, I promise." The frog then dived down and swam up with the ball in his hands. The princess was so happy that she hugged him and said, "Thank you." Suddenly, the frog turned into a handsome prince. He told the princess that he had been changed into a frog by a wicked witch and that only she could set him free. Soon they became very good friends and they lived happily ever after. Children, wasn't that a lovely story? Children, did you know that a frog starts its life in the water and that a young frog cannot jump at all because it has no legs? Children, how about learning the life cycle of a frog? Yes. A life cycle means stages or changes that an animal goes through while it is alive. There are lots of different kinds of animals living on earth and many different types of life cycles. Humans have babies who grow bigger and bigger until they are fully grown up, and that is the human life cycle. Frogs are amphibians, which means they can live in water as well as on land. They go through many stages of life before they become adult frogs, and during these stages they live only in water. The first stage of the life cycle is called the egg. The frog begins as an egg. A female frog lays a lot of eggs at one time in a pond. The egg floats on water in a jelly mass or a cluster. Frog eggs are usually very wet and soft and must be laid in the water or somewhere where it is very damp. These eggs are usually small in size. The eggs soon hatch into tadpoles. So children, the second stage is called the tadpole. When the tadpole hatches, it looks more like a fish than a frog. It doesn't have any legs, but it has gills that allow it to breathe underwater. The tadpole swims and eats plants from the water and grows for several weeks. During this time, the tadpole starts to develop lungs, so it will be able to breathe out of water when it becomes a frog. The tadpole also starts to grow its 2 hind legs. Although the tadpole is starting to look like a frog, it still has a very long tail. The third stage is called the young frog or the froglet. The tadpole now grows its 2 front legs and its long tail becomes shorter and shorter. The tadpole has its food stored in its tail. So until its tail is completely gone, it doesn't need anything else to eat. Then, just as a little stub of tail is left, the tadpole is a young frog. It hops right after the water and onto dry land for the first time. The frog is still very small. And the fourth stage is the adult frog. The frog's tail eventually disappears completely and it starts to eat insects instead of plants from the water. The adult frog then lays their eggs and more tadpoles are hatched, and then begins the cycle once again. So children, this is called the life cycle of a frog.
Let's see the life cycle of a frog. Okay? Now, let's begin with the first stage. What is the first stage? The eggs. The eggs are like jelly and they are in a cluster. All the eggs are in a cluster. Okay? After they are hatched, what happens? Next stage, the second stage is the tadpole. What is it called? A tadpole. This is a long tail and it looks like a fish. Right, children? And after the tadpole stage, you move to the next stage where the tadpole has hind legs, the behind legs. So he gets 2 hind legs. Okay, children? And then you move forward to the fourth stage, which is the froglet or the young frog. And this time, children, can you see it has hind legs and it has the forelegs also. Okay? And now, after the froglet stage, you move on to the final stage, which is the frog, the adult frog. And he can live on land, whereas these were living in the water. So, the frog is an amphibian which lives on land as well as in the water. And once it becomes an adult frog, once again he lays the eggs or she lays the eggs and then move on to tadpole and then the same cycle continues. Okay, and that's why it is called the life cycle of a frog. Okay, children, I hope you have understood and enjoyed this lesson. Take care, be safe, bye bye.